This is part two of a two-part conversation with entertainment attorney Cassandra Spangler. Cassandra specializes in music law. So you are everywhere on social media.
Yeah, I think nowadays it's so important, especially in this industry. So it's a good way of keeping in touch.
And, I found you actually, I want to say I found you through Twitter because I was connected with one of your clients. And she was tweeting about you, and I, at that point in time, was ready to get a lawyer. And I thought, well, this is interesting. The timing is perfect. Let me check this out. And I am so extremely happy she was saying whatever she was saying, because it got me to get in touch with you.
Yeah, I am as well, and I think social media is good for that. And it's interesting how it's always changing. I feel like at that time Twitter was the main one, and now maybe it's Instagram, and who knows what's going to be the next one. But it has its benefits and its drawbacks, but I think it also has a lot of benefits for artists in terms of exposure. It's remove so many of those barriers to entry for artists.
Yes, definitely. Moving into, I think, not a different area, but part of exposure would be music videos, correct?
Sure, yeah, that's really important nowadays too.
Yeah, it almost gives your song another life, if you will. So,
exactly.
How does that work? How does one put a music video together and get it out there, but also make it so that it legally belongs to you and monetization and all that good stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what you want to do, similar kind of idea to what we talked about with music collaborations, but you want to, before you even start filming, you want to make sure that you have all the paperwork put together. And what the paperwork would be an agreement with whoever is going to direct and film the video. You want to make sure you have an agreement with them, which basically specifies, the services they're providing, the time frame for completing everything, what you're paying them, and then also, very importantly, you want it to state that you own the video. So otherwise, by default, whoever is creating the video owns it under the copyright law. So you want to make sure you have in writing with the person, the videographer, director, stating that you own all of the work product. And then you also want to make sure that you have release forms from any actors or any extras who are going to appear in the video. You want to have a simple form stating that you have the right to use their image and their voice. And then you also, even sometimes if you're going to be filming in a public place and you are going to show different buildings or businesses in the background, you have to get their permission. That's why sometimes you'll see the names that, there's a Starbucks in the background, but the Starbucks logo is blurred. And they didn't get the permission to use it. So you just want to make sure if you're using any kind of logo, any business name, that you have gotten their permission, or that you're going to have the videographer remove it from the video, which, it's always better to get permission because I feel like it's a little distracting when you see things being blurred out in the video.
Mm-hmm.
Or just choosing a location where you don't need to even worry about any of that, which is probably the best way to go.
Okay. So either your own private residence or something, or a public spot that doesn't have any trademark issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's why we see so many beach videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So anything else that people have to be aware of or really think about before they do a music video? I mean, it just, to me, I look at the videos and, some of them, of course, blow you right out of the water, and others are so simple. And yet, even though they're simple, there's a lot going on in behind the scenes, it sounds like, if they're doing it right.
Yeah, I think the main things are making sure that everything is cleared, so all the people, all the logos, all the places. Sometimes things that you don't even necessarily think of. There may be a car that drives by in the background, and maybe the car has the radio on, And so there's a little snippet of someone else's song that's playing, that could be copyright infringement. So all those elements, you want to make sure those are cleared or eliminated. And then once you have done that and you've finished the video, you want to register the copyright in the video as well.
Would that come under an SR? What would that come under?
That is I believe I forget the name of the actual form, but I think they have one for audiovisual.
Oh, okay. Amazing. So again, it is beyond just doing the video, and even one as simple as mine, the one I did for my first song. It was literally just pictures that I had taken, and it was a very simple slideshow type thing with my lyrics, which of course I own, so that was all good. That I think is probably the simplest way to do a video. If it's all yours and you actually did it, I don't need a contract with myself, I hope. And it is my song, my lyric, everything is mine, and no issues with the background in terms of taking intellectual property from somebody else or anything like that. To me, I think that is maybe the simplest way to do a video. Maybe could it even be simpler. But is there something, after you do a very simple video like that, should you still copyright it? Or is it all set because if you have a publisher, they've got it covered for the song to be married to that video? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think, if you have registered the PA form and you've registered the SR form, if you're not really doing anything in the video to create a new audio-visual work, then you may not need to register it. So some people do lyric videos where it's just like a solid color background with the lyrics. Technically, if you really wanted to, you could register that as an audio-visual work.
Oh, okay.
But if you've registered the lyrics, it comes down to budget. If you have the budget, register everything because it's safer. If you don't, then probably it's not as much of a priority, as long as you make sure you have the PA form registered and the SR form.
Right. What else do people need to think about as they embark? And actually, if you feel like you want to say something to people just starting out, or the people that have been in it for a while, both, whatever, what other kinds of advice could you give them?
I think make sure that the structure is all set up the way that we discussed. Make sure everything is registered. Be very careful again about signing things. Don't rush into signing anything. Make sure you build a really good team because that makes a huge difference. So in addition to having a lawyer, you want to find a really good manager. That can make a world of difference, in terms of an artist's success.
Can we stay on that for 1 second?
Sure.
Is that something that you could advise someone, okay, I think it's time for a manager, or is that something you stay away from and only comes up when the artist asks?
Yeah, I usually put the general suggestion out there, but I try to stay away from recommending specific people because I always tell artists, your manager, it's kind of like a marriage because you're going to sign a contract with them. They're going to be collecting usually 20% of everything that you earn across all income streams. And it's usually going to last for, a number of years. And you're going to be dealing with this person day in and day out if they're doing their job correctly. You want to make sure that the person has the credentials and the experience, but you also want to make sure that your personality fits well with them because, again, you're going to be... When things start to pick up, your manager is going to probably be the first person that you talk to in the morning and the last person you talk to at night. So it's a very important choice. In some ways more than the lawyer, because with the lawyer, you can always switch lawyers. Manager, again, you get into this contract where maybe it lasts 5 years, and you're stuck with that person for 5 years. So you want to be careful about the choice, but the flip side of that is that a good manager can really make a huge difference, and it also makes my job easier when an artist has a good manager because then I can kind of, the manager is like the in-between person, so they make sure that things get signed when I need to have something signed, and they make sure that the artist shows up to meetings when they need to show up and that kind of thing. So So very, very important relationship.
And I would think that they would need to know something about the music industry as well. And maybe that's not right, because I always hear about these artists that, oh yeah, my cousin's third wife is, my manager. It's like, okay, why? Because they were available. I mean, so do you think that it should be somebody that knows something about the music industry, or that's not really that important?
I think, yeah, I mean, it's better if it's somebody that knows about music and who has connections, because then they can kind of, create opportunities for the artist. However, I think in certain situations it can work if the manager doesn't have experience with music, but is extremely organized and extremely professional and really good with dealing with all the administrative tasks. Sometimes artists get to a certain level and they might have two managers, maybe one that handles all the day-to-day administrative stuff and one that is, kind of handles more of like the real music related, meetings and that kind of thing. But I think, under the right circumstances and the right person, it can work if they don't necessarily have a background in music, but it's certainly helpful if they do.
So we've got lawyer, we've got manager. Is there anybody else that needs to be thought about on the team?
Yeah, so you're going to want to have somebody that does the PR stuff, so a good marketing person. Nowadays, you want somebody that's good with social media. That's so important.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also, which is one that gets overlooked sometimes, is you want a good business manager. And that's usually you don't need that until there's, significant money coming in, but as soon as there is, you want to make sure to hire a business manager, and a good one. And so basically a business manager is kind of like an accountant. They're going to handle all the money is going to be coming into them, and then they pay everyone their percentages, and they pay all the bills, and they kind of keep track of the artist's money, which, as we all know, artists aren't always the best with money, so a good business manager is really important. But again, you want to make sure it's somebody reputable who you can trust, because they're going to have access to the bank accounts and that kind of thing.
And I would think somebody that's strong enough to say, no, you don't need another Bentley.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we've got all of that. And of course, this is in addition to your producer if you're not doing your own producing, which I don't think I'm an expert in it, but I would think that you'd want to have another person outside of yourself producing your music, although I think a lot of people self-produce today. So just have that other set of ears, and of course whoever's mixing your music, and that could also be, I suppose, the producer, right? Whoever's creating your master, which again I would think it would be somebody that is outside of the producer wearing that hat, because you just want all these different ears. That's just my experience. You want different ears before that final product is done.
Definitely, yeah, and that's something you don't want to overlook. You don't want to skip on getting it professionally mixed and mastered, because it's not, you can find people nowadays who do it for a reasonable price, and it really makes such a difference. So it's something artists out there, don't skip that step, it's important.
Anybody else on the team that we're missing?
I think those are the main people, and then, you might start to add others, maybe a stylist or
a masseuse. I want a masseuse.
Masseuse, yeah, sure. Personal trainer, security, all these things at some point or another. But I think to start out with, really, you want to start with, a lot of times the lawyer might actually be the first team member that you add, because you don't want to sign a management contract until you have a lawyer. So I would say first find a good lawyer, then start thinking about finding a good manager and a PR person, and then when the money starts coming in, then you want to find a business manager, and then all the other, ancillary people as well.
And actually, I just realized I have a very basic question about being an entertainment lawyer. Are there different kinds of entertainment lawyers?
There are, yeah. There are some people, like myself, I handle mostly only music. I handle a little bit of TV and film stuff when it comes up in relation to music, but then there are some people that only handle film or only handle television. And then most entertainment lawyers don't handle litigation, meaning if there's a lawsuit, usually you've got to find someone else to handle that. There are a few firms that specialize in entertainment litigation, and they only handle the lawsuits. So, yeah, there are a few different types.
All right, so you just basically should pick the one that you think will suit whatever needs you have. I would think that getting into it, you're not going to need a litigation lawyer. I would hope. But you never know, right? Maybe you wrote something 20 years ago and all of a sudden you heard it on the radio and you're like, wait a minute, that's mine, right? And somebody else is singing it.
Yep.
And you never saw a penny of that money. What are we missing? I feel like we've gone over so many things and people's heads are going to be kind of exploding with all this information. But is there anything else that we should talk about that we missed?
I think we covered pretty much everything, all of the basics at least.
I think that's a fabulous start. And we did go into some more advanced things, I think, for artists that are, making millions of dollars already. Good Lord. But I think that's a fabulous start as well. So if there's nothing else you wanted to add, I'm going to ask you to just tell people how to get in touch with you again. And then I have a question that has absolutely really nothing to do with this conversation.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, the easiest way would be to go to my website, which is cspanglermusiclaw.com. I know it's kind of a long name, so if you just Google my name, Cassandra Spangler, you'll see the website. That has my email address, which is info@cspanglermusiclaw.com. You can also find me on social media, on Instagram @cspanesq, or Twitter, cspanmusiclaw. Facebook you can find it under my name, which again is Cassandra Spangler. So please feel free if you have any questions about things that we talked about, or if you have issues that you want to discuss, please feel free to get in touch.
So, if you're ready for your big question here.
Sure.
All right, and I explained this before, and it's in my other interviews, but I do like to ask one question that actually has nothing to do with our talk, and it is completely random, so I don't even know what it is until I pull it. It's a surprise for everybody. So, let's pull the card. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the question is, what's a skill you wish you had, and why?
I guess, kind of related to the conversation, but I guess I wish I knew how to play piano. No, you know what? I take that back. I wish that I knew how to produce, because as a drummer, I grew up mostly in California and played drums out there, and then I moved to New York City about 15 years ago, and it's much more difficult to find space for, to make that kind of noise with a drum set.
Right.
So what I would like to do is learn how to produce and be able to kind of create rhythms and stuff with headphones and software. So it's something that I've said for years that I would like to be able to do, and I just have never learned how to use the software. So I guess that's what the skill that I wish I had.
Okay, and that gives us the why, because you don't have the space to be able to do that in New York, unless of course you invest in a huge ISO booth and then $200,000 later, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for doing this and sharing your knowledge with all the listeners. I think that there's going to be some folks that are going, oh my God, I didn't know that. So I already know that you've already helped them. So I really appreciate it, and I know they do too.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure. And yes, if people have follow-up, let me know if you start to find that people are asking similar questions, and we can do a follow-up, on whatever topic it is that people are interested in.
Oh, perfect. That's a great idea. I love that.
This concludes part 2 of a conversation with entertainment attorney Cassandra Spangler. If you would like to learn more about Cassandra, visit her website at cspanglermusiclaw.com.